The Undercountry Music News is an excerpt of the weekly internet broadcast Undercountry Music, which features music from great country artists you won't hear on mainstream radio, as well as a roundup of the most interesting country music news of the week without all the fluff. This program you're listening to right now contains only the news portion of the show. To listen and subscribe to the full weekly episode containing the music and interviews, please visit undercountrymusic.com or simply subscribe to the Undercountry Music Podcast on iTunes. Let's get into it. Ooh, there's a title track for your next song, Breakups Lead to Bar Fights.
Yeah, and when you hear that song, you'll know where it came from.
Breakups and Bar Fights. There you go. That's your next album.
Right?
Do you pay much attention to the news?
Very little.
Very little. That's probably a good thing, because if you did pay much attention to the news, then you'd know this whole next section of the show is an absolute farce, because it's time for the Undercountry Music News.
I kind of knew it was coming from listening to the last show.
Oh, see, most people that come on the show, they've never heard the show. So, and it's a good thing, too, because most of the people wouldn't come on the show if they had heard it, because they're trying to get places in the industry. So anyway, for those of you on our talk show formats, which currently would be Spreaker and also YouTube, just joining us, this is the Undercountry Music News. I'm Neal Smith, and I am hanging out with Chris Howard of the band Drop Top Lincoln. Now, I do break out the news portion of this show onto a couple of talk show formats, and the reason I do that is because those talk show formats don't allow music to be played. And so then I get the news out there so people go, oh, hey, I'd like to hear the whole show, and hopefully it kind of brings you back here to listen to the whole show. So anyway, say hi to the folks, Chris.
How are we doing out there?
Oh, pretty good. How are you?
Good.
Anyway, Drop Top Lincoln is a gutterbilly band out of Clifton, Colorado, where weed is legal, and we talked all about that just a few minutes ago. So if you are on one of the talk show formats just joining us, go over to undercountrymusic.com and listen to the full episode, and not just the news. And anyway, but we are going to get into the Undercountry Music News, and which is a weekly experiment I do where I type the search term country music news into Google. I see what websites come up on the first page of those search results. And what I've found doing this is a lot of the times I go onto these websites and, there's a story like, Brantley Gilbert favorite tattoo parlor. And, it's not news, it doesn't tell me what's going on.
Press releases.
Yeah, they're exactly right. They're press releases. And so my job is to dig past all the press releases in each of these websites that come up on the first page of results on Google and bring you just the one or two good stories. Sometimes I'll hit the jackpot and I'll get like 4 great stories off one website. Other times I get no stories at all. And I compile that all into the big steaming, heaping mess known as the Undercountry Music News.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, by the way, Chris, do you know what happens if I go on a website and they don't have any country music news and it's just press releases and junk?
I do know what happens.
You do? Okay, well, yeah, go ahead. I get to splat this out every week, so I'd love to hear somebody else explain it.
You get the big wet belch.
That's right. Hey, maybe you could join me on a wet belch if we so happen to run across a site deserving of it. That's right.
Sounds good.
I have never had I've always done the wet belch. I have never had a co-host actually belch with me.
Are we going to do it in harmony?
I don't know. I'm charting new territory here. I don't even have a compass. I do not have ground. I do not have a gas compass. Anyway, let's get into it here. Over at CMT, John Anderson, the guy who sang "Swangin'," You know that guy?
Right?
Yeah, like back in the
Wind.
Yeah, and Seminole Wind. He has been named. I think he also sings "Black Sheep of the Family," right?
Yes, I think that is correct.
I love that song. Anyway, he's been named to the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Well, that is actual news.
Now, they did name many other songs as well, but, you know, I haven't heard of a lot of the songs that he's written. I mean, he's best known as being an artist. And,
right.
And I got to tell you, other than Swingin' or maybe Seminole Wind, his hits, I mean, I don't take anything away. I love him. He's a great artist. I mean, his hits haven't actually been that monumental, at least from my perspective. So,
I would agree with that.
So what gives here? I mean, isn't the whole premise of a Hall of Fame that the inductees are famous?
That would tend to make sense from the name of the institution.
Yeah, and not just famous, the most famous in their field, and this field in particular is songwriting. Like a songwriter, a famous songwriter would be like, you know, like Carole King is a famous songwriter.
Right.
John Anderson is not famous for songwriting. That's why it's called...
No, I wouldn't think of him as a songwriter. If you asked me about John Anderson, I'd think of him as an artist.
That's kind of my beef here. Now, I mean, I think that's why it's called a Hall of Fame instead of a Hall of pretty good at what they do.
Yeah, Hall of Average.
Yeah. I think I would be in, you know what would be awesome? A Hall of Suck.
They do have that, don't they?
I don't know. I would love to go there and see if I'm in it.
They do all those one-hit wonder shows.
That would be awesome. A Hall of One-Hit Wonders. Now, see, Golden Earring just missed it because they had that second hit.
Right.
Yeah. And also over at CMT, the story that just won't go away. Garth Brooks' croaking comeback concerts in Ireland. Have you heard this story?
I've been seeing stuff about it, yes.
Well, they've all been canceled. All 5.
And what was the reason they gave for that?
Well, this park in Ireland, Croaky Park, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's Crocke. There is a city ordinance that only allows 3 concerts per year at this venue. And they had a run of 5 shows scheduled. And Garth's press release, feel my air quotes, says that if they can't do all 5, if they're going to let down, 2/5 of the fans, by golly, he can't do that, and he's just not going to do it at all. Because,
So he'd rather let down 5/5 of the fans?
Apparently, because now I've got a different hunch about this whole thing, because something is just telling me that the stuff we're hearing is not the whole story. Now, there's got to be a bigger backstory on this whole thing.
And have you got it figured out?
I have a pretty good theory.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay, the promoter books Garth for 5 shows, right?
Right.
But he's only allowed to do 3 at this venue. There's a city ordinance that you can't do more than 3, which means the promoter either didn't know about the city ordinance or thought he could flout it. And he went out selling tickets to shows before he had the venue securely in place. All the I's dotted and T's crossed, and made sure that all his legal ramifications, he was covered soup to nuts on this thing.
Right.
Now, do you think before Garth signed on to do 5 shows that perhaps he had a super solid ironclad contract in place? Keep in mind that he is the most successful country artist in the history of music business.
Right. I imagine he has a room full of guys in suits that all they do is look over contracts.
Now, not to mention he's married to Trisha Yearwood, who holds a business degree.
Right.
Now, do you think Garth might just have had a clause in his contract that states that if the promoter can't uphold any part of his agreement, that Garth has the right to back out and still keep a crap ton of money?
I imagine that's exactly what happened.
Now, if this promoter screwed up royally and can't deliver on his end of the bargain, and Garth still gets to walk away with a huge chunk of money, do you think that a smart business person is still going to incur the overhead expenses of setting up an enormous live event in another country with the personnel, equipments, trucks, buses, hotels, caterers, etc., etc., etc.? I mean, even if he's walking away with maybe half the money he would have made, he's probably still coming out ahead when accounting for all the overhead expenses of putting on a 5-night run of live events to that extent. I'm just
Yep.
armchair thinking here. That's all I'm doing here.
But that does all make perfect sense.
I'm just saying, I think there's a whole lot more to this deal than meets the eye, and I think there's probably a promoter in Ireland right now crapping shamrocks.
Yep.
All right. Oh, did you have any theories on this one?
No. Like I said, I had seen that he was canceling his shows in Ireland, but I hadn't even read the article. I just read the headline.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why you got me. I dig through all that. That's my job.
I don't have to, because you're going to dig through it for me.
That's right. And that's why you come right here to Undercountry Music each and every week. All right.
That's right.
Over at countryweekly.com, Leanne Womack is set to co-host the International Bluegrass Music Awards.
The International Bluegrass Awards.
Is Leanne Womack a bluegrass artist?
No, that's what I was just running through my head. I would not consider her bluegrass at all unless she's put something out I haven't heard.
She's known for being a country artist, and she is just hosting it. But I mean, there are famous bluegrass artists like I would say Ricky Skaggs would fall in that category. Vince Gill has been doing a lot of bluegrass lately. Steve Martin and Edie Frizell out on that banjo tour last year. They had the biggest bluegrass album of the year. Would you love to see Steve Martin hosting a show like that?
I would, but what do you think the budget is for the Bluegrass Awards?
I have no idea. And Leanne Womack, I mean, she is a name. She's not exactly a household name. She's got she's like one of those one-hit wonder Hall of Famers, right?
Right.
You know,
I think Steve Martin would probably carry a heavier price tag.
Yeah, I would say so. Because, I mean, Leanne Womack, her only claim to fame is, I hope you dance. I can't even sing that. What the heck?
You know, Tommy Shaw put out a bluegrass album a year or two back.
Tommy Shaw of Sticks?
Yeah.
Really? I had not heard that.
You might want to check into it. It's pretty good.
Wow. I guess he had too much time on his hands.
Exactly.
Yeah, anybody under 40 is not going to get that reference. This is not a show about sticks and hard rock. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Taste of Country. Rascal Flats. Man, okay, the rash of cancellations continues. Rascal Flats has had to cancel their July 10th concert in Oklahoma City due to singer Gary Levox getting sick and not being able to sing. No other dates have yet been affected. No other details are currently available. Now, Chris, I know what you're thinking.
What's that?
Isn't today July 10th?
Yes, it is.
No, it's not, because the show doesn't come out for another few days.
Oh, what day is it?
It's like Monday or something. See, when you're podcasting, you don't have to stick to an actual hard and fast schedule. I was doing it every Saturday at midnight. It would come out, but I'm a DJ as my living, so that it got really tough to get it out there. So now Monday's kind of my day off, and I try to get it all done throughout the end of the week and just little bits and pieces, and then if I still haven't gotten it out Monday morning, I'll finish up whatever needs to be finished up, and I push it out, and then I go have a nice day with my family. So
that sounds like a plan.
So it's, when you're hearing this, it's probably Monday-ish.
All right.
And this
yes, it was last week.
Boy, I sure am glad to see him back on the concert trail now.
Yeah, I've never been much of a fan of Rascal Flats. They kind of remind me of the NSYNC of country music.
Yeah, I mean, except that their guys do actually play instruments, though. I do give them
Sure.
that, and they've got great vocal harmonies. I like it when they play upbeat stuff. I do like their upbeat stuff, but they've just got way too many down-tempo songs for my taste. But I like stuff like Why Wait. That's a good upbeat song that's rocking. I like the song Banjo. That's kind of fun. But
Yeah.
I use Why Wait a lot at weddings when I DJ weddings and stuff because it's about running off and eloping. So I usually use that for the grand entrance. A lot of times when it's a couple that likes country music, I'll use that as their grand entrance.
Okay, I can see where that would fit.
Yeah, God Bless the Broken Roads is kind of a wedding staple. Actually, a few years ago, that was played at almost every wedding. Nowadays, it's more just something you throw in the dinner hour or during the ceremony's prelude or something like that when it doesn't matter. Anyway, you ready to move on to GAC, Great American Country?
Sure.
Now, these guys very rarely have anything but recipes. And that's usually the only thing that staves them because I like to eat. I live in Tennessee. And, this week's no different. They've got Krystal Keith in the kitchen with a recipe for peanut butter and chocolate chip bars.
Well, let's make some of those. Those sound good.
Yeah, we'll go over to GAC, look under the country music news section, and you'll find that recipe. And also, Martina McBride has a new cookbook that looks exactly like every other damn cookbook on the shelf.
Where do they get time to make a cookbook?
I don't think they do have time to make cookbooks. I think other people write them, and they slap their names on them and get a chunk of change, and they split with the writers, whatever that split is. I think that's how...
Sounds like a pretty good racket.
I think most celebrities that are cranking out books all the time, I don't think any of them write. I think they get interviewed a little bit about it, and then they have a ghostwriter. Yeah, exactly. Have a ghostwriter, and that's the way business is done. Right, let's go on over to NashvilleGab.com. I think this week we can call them NashvilleGas.com because they got nothing but the undercountry music news. Wet belch of the week. Do you think you can cook one up for us here, Chris?
I don't know.
How about on the count of 3, okay?
All right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Well, that's not bad for a first try.
I got a little bit out.
Yeah, I got a little bit out too. It wasn't real good. What'd you have for lunch?
Beef stroganoff.
Really? Did they at least go behind closed doors?
Yeah.
See, I had a spinach and mushroom quesadilla with French onion soup and an unsweet tea. By the way, it's a crime to
French onion soup.
It's a crime to drink unsweet tea in Tennessee.
I know. I used to live in Tennessee.
You did? What part?
Somerville.
Somerville. I have no idea where that is.
Right outside of Memphis.
Oh, that would be why. Okay, yeah. Okay, I do remember driving through Somerville on my way to Memphis. Done a couple of events in Memphis this year. So
yeah, and it is a crime to drink unsweet tea in Tennessee.
Yes, it is. So Somerville, is that more of a lower crime area than Memphis? I know Memphis is that's a pretty tough town there.
I think anything is a lower crime area than Memphis.
I would think so.
But Somerville is kind of a little farming community.
Ah, okay. So you really did get to see beef stroganoff.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's got to be painful with hooves.
Yeah, the neighbors had a bull that would threaten me every morning from the other side of the fence.
I love that. I love getting threatened by animals. It's my favorite thing. All right, over at theboot.com, you can watch the video for Justin Moore covering Motley Crue's Home Sweet Home for the upcoming country music Motley Crue tribute album, as the Crue make their way through their farewell tour Would you like to hear Justin Moore singing Motley Crue?
I saw that he was covering that song, and I was pretty interested to hear how that came out. We actually played a show. One of our first shows we ever played, we opened for Justin Moore.
Yeah, Justin Moore. I mean, I like that guy, but he's got a real nasally, twangy voice. So it was real interesting to hear him singing that.
Yeah, he's from down in central Arkansas.
Yeah, that's our neighbors here, Memphis neighbors. So, but it was odd because the music sounded real close to the original, and the only thing really different about it was his singing, from what I remember. I listened to this thing last night.
I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah, over at theboot.com. But anyway, this show's about country music, isn't it? Yes, it is. So let's move on to the 615. The 615 is a division of Billboard. But this week, they may as well call it Belchboard, because we got a second under country music news wet belch of the week coming. You want to see if we can do better than we did last time here?
Let's give it a shot.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
You beat me again.
I've had more practice, and that time, I actually was more warmed up, so I was able to get more gas down in my stomach. Now, they do have a cool feature over at the 615 on the band Kansas Bible Company, but the Kansas Bible Company is not a country act. They're like an alternative act, and with really no country music to do with them. But they are based out of Nashville, which is why they went into the 615. But for country music, 615 gets the belch this week. Over at nashville.com, now they've actually been making a nice run, and they've been appearing sort of at the bottom of the search results for the front page, and they're starting to climb there. Oh, sorry. Whoa, they don't get the belch. That was just a residual. Residual belch. Okay, Nashville.com is reporting that Garth Brooks has announced a world tour starting this year. He announced it on Good Morning America. If you're a promoter booking Garth Brooks into a hall, I would be real careful to make sure that I had every little last detail that I was contracted to do in place and solid.
Yep. Especially now that we've kind of alerted everyone.
There's a guy in Ireland right now pooping Blarney stones. that guy is going to be eating mustard sandwiches for the next decade.
Yeah, he's going to have to do something to recoup his losses.
He's going to be working the fry vat at the local chip shop. Oh, yes, also over at Nashville.com. The numbers are in for last month's CMA Festival in Nashville. The financial numbers, that is. And are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, apparently this annual shindig all over Nashtucky brought in $39.3 million to the local economy here in Middle Tennessee.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess I won't bitch about the traffic next year.
I think your local business people are pretty pleased.
I think they are, and sounds good to me. I mean, we got a great economy here in Middle Tennessee. What's your economy like over there in Colorado? Well, now you legalized pot. What am I asking? How's the economy?
Well, and that has been a big boost. Where I live, most of the economy is driven by the oil and gas business.
Did you say gas?
Yeah.
Okay, no, I got no more gas.
So it's kind of up and down as they change the rules and regulations. It affects our economy.
But you guys have a lot of hippies out there, and hippies don't really like oil and gas a whole lot. So that's got to be
it's kind of a weird dynamic.
I would say so, and so I would imagine you've got a whole lot of protest sites and things like that.
Well, it's a lot of, they'll go out and find a bird's nest within 50 yards of someplace they're drilling and have to stop everything because it's a protected bird.
Of course.
It's that sort of stuff.
Yeah, of course. Well, over at Country Standard Time, Sheryl Crow is releasing a new arrangement of her song Redemption Day, which features a collaboration with Johnny Cash. All right. Now,
How did she manage that?
I don't know. Apparently she hired somebody with a shovel.
Or someone that could channel him.
You know, I mean, what'd she do? Like take his skeleton and beat his hand against like a drum or something? Oh, man.
They must have found the lost tapes.
They're finding a lot of lost tapes. Can you imagine if I were a bigger podcaster, how much hate mail I'd get for what I just said?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all
there's a couple of Johnny Cash fans out there.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I live really close to where he lived, and they actually have a Johnny Cash museum out here and everything now. Actually, just opened it not too long ago. But
Cool to check out.
Yeah. Anyway, this has been your Country Music News. Mr. Chris Howard, bass guitar, vocals, and manager of the band Drop Top Lincoln out of Clifton, Colorado. Before we let our folks on the talk show formats go, why don't you let people know what's coming up with Drop Top Lincoln and how they can get in touch with you?
Well, the big thing that's coming up is Casey's getting back from Afghanistan. He's our lead guitarist and one of our songwriters. And he will be back here in just a couple weeks, and then we're going to get back out on the road and start playing. Our first show back is going to be August 9th here in Grand Junction, Colorado. So we're looking forward to that. And you can find us at www.droptoplincoln.net.
.net?
.net.
Oh, you didn't get the .com.
No.
How did you not get the... who has the .com on that?
I don't think anyone did. We did our website through Band Vista, and they just assigned it.
So then you could still grab the .com.
I could still get the .com, I'm sure.
Oh, I would.
Unless someone out there listening just got it and is going to charge me.
Well, they won't hear this for another few days. I mean, you can go on GoDaddy and get it for like $2.
Yeah.
I
probably need to do that.
I might do that if I were you. But anyway, so you say you're going to get back out on the road. How far are you traveling?
Well, right now we're just all Colorado shows right now, but we're going, to play the Buffalo Rose in Golden, Colorado here in September, and that's a good 4-hour run over there. And we're looking at doing some shows in Salt Lake City, but we're still in negotiations on that. So in the past, we've done runs all up in the Pacific Northwest and down through Texas. So we get around. It's just a matter of getting Casey back and letting him have a little time with his family before we get too far out.
Of course, that makes sense, and he deserves that time with his family. Anyway, we're going to let the people on our talk show formats go because we're about to get into some more music. If you people out there listening want to hear some Drop Top Lincoln music, just come on over to undercountrymusic.com, and you're going to hear a couple of songs by Drop Top Lincoln on the full episode, which you're only hearing a smidgen of right now. Or just get on over to droptoplincoln.net and hook up with the band directly. And if you didn't have a pen or whatever, just go into the show notes and it'll be there. The link will be right there in the show notes. Okay? Thank you for listening to the Undercountry Music News. The Undercountry Music News is just a small excerpt of the weekly hour-long internet broadcast Undercountry Music, where I, Neal Smith, not only round up the week in country music news and put my own spin on it, but I also play music and have great interviews by lesser-known original country acts, the kind that you won't hear on mainstream country radio. If you're thirsting for that, get on over to undercountrymusic.com where you can listen and subscribe. You can also subscribe via iTunes to Undercountry Music. Thanks so much. Stay under, stay country.